Hey, what's good, cannabis investors? I hope you're all hanging in there. I'm back with another video. I had to take a break because I just could not bring myself to find the motivation to make a video while the Dems were still in power, knowing that they were not going to make anyone happy on their shameful exit. And so we're back on track, though, at least for this week. I will be out of town next week for a work conference. Besides that, we're going to go over some sales, studies, and the usual drama. And so with that, New York, December sales, how did we do? Fortunately, they're opening stores, so we saw some record growth, 126 million combined medical and adult use. So that's promising. Now remember, this is from headset.io, so if you want to grab this link in the comments, you can go through a lot of other markets too and see how things went in December. And at least in terms of what Headset views that as. And so with that, from Ohio, apparently between August 7th and January 15th, they've now totaled 414 million, which is very impressive. So this one from the Marijuana Herald, lots of information and breakdown here for the details in Ohio. If you are interested, the main thing is people still want legal cannabis. Sales are not slowing down, and so we're pretty much entering the peak upside down, where the controversial ETF MSOS has pretty much hit bottom, yet sales, are still fairly steady, especially in new markets that are turning on. It's at least promising, but, make it make sense at this point, right? December caps a record-setting sales year for Missouri's cannabis market as well. And many states didn't actually end up hitting the record in December, which they typically have done in past years, but they either hit their record for the year in July, or a lot of them even did it in November. So just put that into context when we look at the sales. Now, for more information on Missouri here, of course, you can pause to take a look at the breakdown. With that, Maryland generated $1.14 billion in legal sales in 2024. The people are voting with their dollars. It's just time for the government to catch up. And fortunately, Trump's been moving pretty quickly on a lot of what he said previously. Now, of course, he hasn't mentioned a word about cannabis, and so we're used to that gaslighting, and but he's got a lot of shit to do. And so he did say he'd release the JFK files, and it seems like he has done that. I've not gone through them or anything, but he at least kept his word there. So that kind of a general breakdown from new cannabis ventures. December cannabis sales fell from a year ago, and so of course Alan's going to have a doomful, not very optimistic title. Western markets are more mature because they were the first ones to legalize, though nice to see a few of them still managed to jump up in December from November, as that's the typical holiday spending. Eastern markets, BDSA seems to be where they're getting their data from, so just note that. New York is also medical only. Florida and Pennsylvania are also medical only. Florida, I think they're trying for 2026 again, and they've started that push, so it's a little too soon to remind me of the sad failure in 2024. But I'm optimistic. I think there's still a lot of room for growth given a lot of the new markets turning on. And once Florida and PA do eventually flip, and while PA looks bad here in December, they had pretty strong October and November, I'm pretty sure. Similar to Florida, yet, still finished the year strong. So take from that what you will. Again, all these links in the comments. Michigan eclipses $10 billion in total adult use cannabis sales. Very impressive. Now, this time around, December did not actually outpace November as it typically does with the holiday spending. Just wanted to show you this visual because it kind of helps you see the full year. It's worth noting that Michigan did have a massive March to start off the year, and then a big July and even bigger August. And so it's a little different than we're used to seeing. But Michigan is also one of those exemplary markets that's seen a ton of success by providing, equal access to opportunity and making it competitive for as many people from the get-go. So lots of details here, of course, if you're new or you wanted to go through the links in the comments just to go through that. Well, that other list did have Illinois on it. Keep in mind that data is from BDSA. The state data is still not out yet, which is very frustrating because it's now January 25th and we still don't have December. What's more frustrating is just I've been following this pathetically for a very, very long time. And the numbers look fantastic. Could be more growth if they open more stores. But they used to have someone that was good at their job and would update this pretty quickly into the next month. And so sadly, we lost that person a while ago. And New Mexico, of course, steady sales, not setting any records this past month. That was August, I believe, that set the tone, or might have been March. But so yeah, we're seeing different trends. March and August happen to be some of the bigger months for some of these states too, the smaller ones. So of course, all these links in the comments if you're interested. Thank you, the Dank Informer. Worth updating that Florida medical only again is on track to break 900,000 active medical cannabis patients next week. It's nice to see a bit of growth because for a very, very long time it was stagnant and actually going down for a period. And so silver lining there. Makes a fantastic point, is there's literally now more empirical evidence. Over the years, we've gathered a lot. On PubMed, you got 36,000 now, I think. Empirical evidence on cannabis substance use and its effects than any other drugs in existence. Compared to alcohol, any other substances that are in Schedule 1. I imagine there's a good amount on, psilocybin, LSD, DMT, and some of those hallucinogens, but probably nothing close to where we're at now with this plan. So how the DEA can still play dumb and gaslight is beyond me. And so this was, of course, one of the bigger developments. I don't know if this is good news or bad news. Please let me know in the comments if you know more. But this was kind of the best summary I could find. So just to highlight that the DEA Administrative Law Judge John Mulrooney has canceled the cannabis rescheduling hearings that were scheduled to commence next week. Good thing or bad thing? And this decision pushes back the reform process for at least 3 months. And so if anyone was hoping to see 280E gone early in 2025, it seems like Uncle Sam is still the one reaping all the benefits here. And the cancellation stems from an ongoing dispute about whether the DEA actually supports the rescheduling proposal it was supposed to defend, because based on their words and actions, sadly, for many important people, it does not seem like they want to defend the science that the HHS, had the courage to publish. And so their accusations the DEA has been improperly opposing the rescheduling, conspiring with prohibitionist groups, and stacking the witness deck against reform. And so, of course, those in the DEA doing that should be held accountable, and let's hope that there's more to this. I have no idea, though. So again, let me know in the comments. Has anyone trusted the DEA, though, for the last decade? I don't think so, and we have some more data supporting the fact that as 96% of cannabis consumers say the DEA is biased against rescheduling. And so far, they've proven that. But who the hell are the 4% of cannabis consumers that think the DEA has been balanced in their views? So is this even real? You think it'd pretty much be 100%. Either way, more information here. 677 people were polled, and this was conducted recently with a little bit of margin of error. And so take from that what you will. Links in the comments. While some cannabis groups are apparently combining to see if that has a better effect as they push for federal reforms under Trump. Let's hope so. Of course, it's likely not going to put a dent in comparison to what Big Pharma and all of these other organizations buy politicians for, but we can only hope, right? And so there's also been a lot of pictures of Kim going to some Trump events, Kim Rivers, of the CEO of Trulieve. Now, I didn't include any of them in my video, but part of me is hoping that's great, that Kim's, knows Pam Bondi. She knows all of them. And of course, Pam Bondi does work for the firm that represents Trulieve, I believe, lobbying firm. All that to say, is she there because, there's real business and talk going on in the background, or is she just there living her best girl life? I don't know. I really fucking hope she's obviously making plays as well, which, likely to believe she is. But only time will tell. So more information here, though. Nice long one from Morningstar, giving, a lot of decent context. One of the better written cannabis articles in a long time. Giving us a little bit more opium to get us through to the spring. But before we get to MSO news and studies, the rumors are back. Are we going to see another push? Maybe if we call it something different, debanking, give it a bit of a facelift, a rebrand, then it might have a better shot this time around. Now, fortunately, Trump did mention that SAFE ought to pass, and we ought to get all that sorted out in that one tweet from September, so take from that what you will. At least he said it, so he might be aware of the situation, more likely than not, being from Florida too. All I see with this is it's the same push to, hey, call your senators, do this, do that. Of course, hey, if you're affected, grab this link, send it to somebody that you know that might want to do that. But we'll believe it when we see it. So MSO News, GreenThumb Industries to hold fourth quarter and full year 2025 earnings conference call on February 26th, 2025. Time is flying as if we're already here, fourth quarter 2024. So they will do that after market closes on that Wednesday. I think GreenThumb is the first to announce this, so we'll be looking out for the rest of the MSOs. While Trulieve opening a few more shops and expanding their footprint, this first one in Zanesville, Ohio, so that's going to be a nice new source of adult use revenue. Grand opening Friday, January 17th, while next one is actually a relocation of an existing one in PA. That grand opening is going to be at the end of the month, and nice to see a company that I hold very, very heavy bags in, expanding their footprint and bringing in more ways to earn revenue. While not the best look for Verano, Justin Meisner, a Chicago Tribune reporter, shared. Now, it's worth noting before I get into this, apparently this guy is the former executive vice president of Verano, so he's no longer with the company now. But obviously wouldn't want to be him, as an indictment made public Friday charges Anthony Marsico, vice president of Chicago cannabis giant Verano Holdings, and 3 country club pals with insider trading and conspiracy involving the 2022 failed acquisition of a Minnesota weed company, which is Vireo, formerly Goodness Growth, formerly Vireo, before they changed their name and then changed it back. And I actually own shares of that fucking company. And so either way, heavy bags there too. But only time will tell if those shares will ever turn around and become worth something. And so, yeah, not a great look, though. Wonder what will happen with this. More information if you want to grab the links and go through this. Now, on to some studies, though. Just relaying, though, that while the DEA is an agency, sadly, there's a lot of bad actors protecting itself. There have been good actors in the DEA in the past. So, for example, similar to the John Mulrooney DEA judge now, who's kind of calling them out on their shit and had canceled the hearings, we kind of do want to see that because it's in the same spirit of, former DEA Judge Francis Young, who had the courage in 1988 to highlight the truth, as cannabis in its natural form is one of the safest therapeutically active substances known to man. By any measure of rational analysis, cannabis can be used safely within a supervised routine of medical care. It would be unreasonable, arbitrary, and capricious for the DEA to continue to stand between those sufferers. Imagine that, 36 friggin' years ago. And the benefits of the substance in light of the evidence in this record. And so, for those of us that know, we know. It's such a damn shame the discrimination has continued to this point. And to think that Trump is our only hope. Really. And the Dems had 4 fucking years, man. And so, for anyone that isn't aware, I just wanted to share this as I found a link to the old report, the Shafer Commission it's called, Cannabis, a Signal of Misunderstanding. First report of the National Commission on Cannabis and Drug Abuse, March 1972. Now, I'm just thinking out loud here. If a report like this has come out and, stated the obvious, cannabis is not dangerous, and it presents all the evidence, could this day and age the DEA is just going to do the exact same thing to the HHS report, the 252-page recommendation of the U.S. government and the health agency finally admitting that cannabis is a medicine? It's possible. I mean, it's essentially been the status quo until now. Still just so crazy that the DEA, supposed to be working for Americans, are so corrupt. But on to some studies. First one, done by GreenThumb, I believe, survey finds more adults turn to cannabis than prescription sleep aids to help them sleep. Yes. And I've been one of them, and it's done fantastic for me. Nearly 1 in 5 American adults 21 and up use cannabis to help them sleep. Snoozeberry from Incredibles offers a leading sleep line recognized among the nation's top 10 selling sleep cannabis products. And so, of course, just highlighting that cannabis, among many possible uses, why people use it, one of the most common ones is sleep. And for me, it just shuts me right out. It's the best. Nothing's come close to it. So if you've had similar experiences, let me know in the comments. And of course, just sharing the good news as we do more studies and collect more data. While this one from PubMed as well, Jan 11th, 2025, so fairly new. Age of onset of cannabis use and substance use problems, a systemic review of prospective studies. So of course, taking a lot of studies we've already done and basically telling us what they all mean. Conclusions, you can pause to read the rest, but findings suggest that early age of cannabis use onset is a specific risk factor in the development of cannabis use disorder. So if you start early, you're more likely to continue using it habitually. And again, I do use cannabis every day. I don't think I have cannabis use disorder. If I don't need it or if I'm somewhere where I can't access it, I don't use it. But not other substance use problems. So this is, again, more evidence highlighting that cannabis is not the gateway substance. Alcohol, if anything, is a larger contributor, but prevention approaches, of course, should aim to delay the onset of cannabis use. And fortunately, the best thing to do that is cannabis legalization. What do you know, right? And the best part is the data backing it up. From Marijuana Policy Project highlighting, new data shows adult use cannabis legalization corresponds with drops in teen use. So if you want less teens to start using it early, you fucking end cannabis prohibition. It just makes sense. So as of January 9th, we love to see it. Over a decade into state-level cannabis legalization, the data is unequivocal. Legalization does not increase youth cannabis use. In fact, evidence suggests the opposite. By transitioning cannabis sales from the illicit market to a regulated system with age-restricted access, we've seen a decrease in youth cannabis use, said Karen O'Keefe, Director of State Policies. And so the data's all in. We just have to beat the prohibitionists, their lies, and their bullshit, and their deceit. And so for the full report, this is that link to it if you're interested in going through it. All these links will be in the comments. While a few more. This one, PubMed, from February 2025, so the future, investigation into cannabinoid's protective effects on cadmium-induced toxicity in mice. And so cadmium-induced toxicity seems to be something that can affect your lungs and is caused by pollution or exposure. And I don't know if I'm explaining that too well, so I just asked ChatGPT. If you wanted to learn more, you can pause to read. But all that to say is CBD coming in again and helping mitigate negative effects or toxic effects from the sounds of it. Less stress, less inflammation, better for the body. Cannabis will also reduce the increase in pro-inflammatory cytokines. So it seems like it's very helpful. And again, protects against some toxic effects of cadmium. And so while this is a bit technical too, for anyone interested, asking ChatGPT to explain the results like I'm 5, it tells it like it is. CBD is literally a superhero. It's certainly a super tool for a lot of us, and we don't even know the half of it. And so from the Dank Informer, the U.S. government has always known it though, right? Reminding us that cannabinoids as antioxidants and neuroprotectants, the U.S. has had a patent on it since the year 1999. Yes, 25 plus years ago. They know. And we have the team in place to finally expose them. It's just a matter of them keeping their word. And I don't know about you, but the fact that we've got RFK now at the helm of the health agencies is making me quite confident. And so with that PubMed last few, November 2024, again, just highlighting the superhero or the super tool that CBD is. Epilepsy has been one of those for a very long time, especially children that have needed access to cannabis in places where it's illegal. A lot of stories out of the UK. But CBD seems to be also a miracle substance for those with epilepsy. And so just another study highlighting our findings suggest that CBD may benefit all patients with drug-resistant epilepsy. That's not saying some, but all patients, particularly those already receiving a substance called clobazam. So more information here if you wanted to pause to read the details. Well, this one from theconversation.com, nice to see a full write-up on, of course, the benefits of this medicine, that it truly is a safer, non-addictive medicinal alternative to a lot of the medicines Americans are already taking. And that's why new studies are finding more Americans are able to access legal cannabis, fewer picking up prescription pills for anti-anxiety medications. Booyah. Love to see more studies with more data. So they looked at a lot of alternatives that people can be using and that doctors will prescribe as if it's the answer. Either way, I just feel lucky that I've never been trapped in that, and I hope you don't, and you don't know people that have either. But this is the study that it's referencing from September 5th, 2024. So it's a bit of an older one, but hey, nice to see it being featured in a publication because the findings are massive. If only mainstream media outlets wanted to share that, but of course they won't because they're funded by the same companies that sell the doctors those pills and incentivize the doctors to sell those. And so with that, though, a bit more news from Forbes. World's largest tobacco company continues silent entry into cannabis. And I just figured I would share this because, well, it's not new. It hasn't meant much thus far, but Philip Morris is still eyeing the cannabis opportunity. And one funny thing I noted while going through this and figured it'd be funny and worth sharing is that out of all the people in the world that Forbes can talk to, I mean, who knows the most about cannabis? Arguably one of the worst portfolio managers in the history of ETFs. And Todd Harrison. Like, we literally live in an echo chamber. You can't get away. So, again, they're optimistic, though, that things are opening up. But, big tobacco and even big alcohol is likely going to be conforming to this sort of view as well, realizing that that's kind of the future as more people trend away. So link in the comments if you want to go through that. And speaking of alcohol and how scared big alcohol is likely probably getting, the data does look promising. Now, Gen Z, I'm pretty sure this guy makes a good point. They're very young. Most aren't even 21 yet, so that's a big factor. Though we are seeing a bit of a dent in some of the other generations, particularly millennials and Generation X. Now, when you hear this, though, weed is new alcohol, if you understand the benefits that cannabis can bring and you use it as a tool in moderation, then you see this as good news. But it's also worth noticing that, oh, fuck, these idiot prohibitionists that see this, they're thinking, oh, now weed is just the new problem. Oh, we gotta band together and stop it. And so, obviously fucking annoying because the same message being seen by two completely different perspectives drive different results. Now, we're going to get into an interesting one, a controversial one. Let me know what you think in the comments. But worth noting that this picture does look like it was taken in the early 2000s. So clearly Pam Bondi is likely, learned new information, possibly changed her views, but she's likely also going to do what Trump and RFK, guide her to do. And so worth noting, though, yes, she's been a prohibitionist in the past. Now, the main reason I'm sharing this, though, bring up that question, and I want to know what you think in the comments, of course. Feel free to let me know. But this lady, I recognized her face, and I've seen her around. And so I ended up finding her. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that lady's her. they're definitely the same lady. And I mean, you can also ask yourself the question, well, what, do they know each other? For, historically, the prohibitionists have been able to get the ears of politicians just like that. Well, when pro-cannabis, it's like impossible to get your foot in the door. Fortunately, though, Pam Bondi's alliances to Trump are likely going to supersede her alliances with fucking Ellen here. But Ellen is another one of those big sheeties on Twitter, liking and commenting on every one of this fat pig's over-dramatic bullshit posts. And so right here, we've got all of them together, the poster cunts of the modern-day prohibitionist movement. So while they're annoying, they're pesky. I thought they were bots. It seems like they might be real people. Luckily we're all aware. You follow the money. There's been so much money, billions spent to keep things the way they are, to keep cannabis illegal, to keep people stupid and thinking it's a terrible monstrosity. Yet this clown too, Ken Finn, was going to be apparently one of the witnesses. And so maybe the cancellation is actually a good thing. You tell me. You let me know what you think in the comments. But I don't think anything is stopping this train. It's just taking a lot longer than we wanted. So for those of you that aren't aware, what Trump did say a while back, I forget exactly when he was on the Lex Friedman podcast. This was, of course, before the election, I think sometime in September or October of 2024. But we're just going to play his clip one more time to hear the positive things he did have to say about cannabis.
Posted recently about marijuana and that you're okay with it being legalized, but it has to be done safely. Can you explain your policy there?
Well, I just put out a paper. And first of all, medical marijuana has been amazing. I've had friends and I've had others and doctors telling me that it's been absolutely amazing, the medical marijuana. And we put out a statement that we can live with the marijuana. It's got to be a certain age. Got to be a certain age to buy it. It's got to be done in a very concerted, lawful way. And the way they're doing it in Florida, I think, is going to be actually good. It's going to be very good. But it's got to be done in a good way. It's got to
keep in mind, Florida didn't pass in November, so that hurts. My soul. And so this is another one I'm going to share, but hey, I have to share these comments too, because look, as much as I've been a big fan of hearing what Boris has to say, because man, he's a convincing speaker and he would know best. I hope he's right, but it comes with these what's the word I'm looking for? Disclaimers. So
the only person that matters
take it with a grain of salt.
J. Trump.
Yes.
That's it. No ALJ judge, no head of DEA. Doesn't matter what the DEA is doing today. It doesn't matter if they're trying to get in the way of the process. It doesn't matter what anyone says. Pam Bondi is going to do what the president tells her to do.
So
only that. That's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing that matters. And everything.
Is that true? We'll find out. All I know is I am a bag holder, but I don't need to sell. And so still got my tickets. Still waiting for the train to arrive at the station. So from Green Wave Advisors, to put it all in perspective, look at the chart below, which illustrates where we are now and how much upside remains, in their honest opinion, in U.S. cannabis retail sales. They've asserted on multiple occasions, way before the election, that the industry will move forward under this Trump administration. It does not matter one iota who the Attorney General is. So very interesting chart. On the side, we got the amount in dollars. On the right-hand side, we got the percentage increase. And while this, of course, is here to spark our imagination, and again, I apologize for contributing to that over time, but we've been so damn close for so long. The growth, of course, of this U.S. cannabis industry noted in green, with both hands tied behind their backs and facing, unlimited discrimination by many government industries, and still working for Uncle Sam, paying that predatory 280E tax where they pay pretty much 80% of what they make. But are you looking at this and thinking that we're not going to get a Chapter 3 at some point? I mean, hey, again, I've been wrong. This is not advice. I am a bag holder. We all invested in this industry for a reason, and things change. Eventually, this time might be different. So just to summarize where I'm at, I hope you're all doing well. Try not to focus too much on this. It'll happen when it happens. Just invest what you can. Fortunately, it is January of a new year. My tax-free savings account limit has likely reset, but I'm not putting any more money in. Of course, I've put way too much in already, but game on. That's all I have to say. And well, last but not least, from the National Law Review, figured I would just share this, but take it with a grain of salt because they're just predictions and they could easily be wrong. Let's hope they're wrong, because while they say it's going to be a very big year for cannabis, not necessarily in the way we want it to. The Farm Bill will be extended until the latter half of 2025, but done this year, so they say. The Farm Bill will clarify cannabinoid rules, but adopt a regulate, don't ban approach to many existing cannabinoids. So will that close the loophole? I don't know, but it doesn't sound like it's the most beneficial outcome for the legal adult use industry. There will be continued rapid developments in state laws governing intoxicating hemp products. That'll be interesting to see how those play out. Cannabis will not be formally rescheduled in 2025. Not necessarily a big surprise. I'm mentally preparing for it to be more of a 2026 thing, just because, we've been led on for so long, gaslit and failed. So I'm starting to learn a little bit, I guess you could say. President-elect Trump's Department of Justice will continue general policy of hands-off state cannabis licensees in the meantime. With rescheduling a possibility, Congress will choose not to focus on safe banking or reforming 280 because they suck, and why would they? Uncle Sam loves that extra income. And then, last but not least, which I think could be the biggest factor, and again, we're hoping for a Hail Mary, but the United States Supreme Court will agree to hear a cannabis case. And that could be a big curveball that, again, I just would be pleasantly surprised if that would be the case. And so take from that what you will, but that is it for today's episode, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you learned something. What do you think about the stories mentioned? Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions, and I'd be happy to address them. But besides that, if you enjoyed this video and you learned something, please just leave a like on it. Subscribe below if you don't want to miss any future ones. And I will catch you sometime in February. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.